Alright, I'm going to be reading from the private oral exam guide. I'm in chapter 5, cross country flight planning. I'm in section E Airspace. This is 5-34. What is Class A airspace? Generally, that airspace from 18,000 feet MSL up to including flight level 600, including that airspace overlying the waters within 12 nautical miles of the coast of the 48 contiguous states in Alaska, are designated international airspace beyond 12 nautical miles of the coast of the 48 contiguous states in Alaska within areas of domestic radio navigational signal of ATC radar coverage and within which domestic procedures are applied. So really, the airspace from 18,000 up to and including flight level 600. Can a flight under VFR be conducted within Class A airspace? No, unless otherwise authorized by ATC. Each person operating an aircraft in Class A airspace must operate the aircraft under instrument flight rules. Number 3. What is the minimum pilot certification for operations conducted within Class A airspace? The pilot must be at least a private pilot with an instrument rating. Number 4. What minimum equipment is required for flight operations within Class A airspace? A two-way radio capable of communicating with ATC on the frequency assigned. A Mode C altitude encoding transponder equipped with instruments and equipment required for IFR operation. How is Class A airspace depicted on a navigational chart? Class A airspace is not specifically charted. What is the definition of Class B airspace? Generally, that airspace from the surface to 10,000 feet MSL surrounding the nation's busiest airports in terms of IFR operations or passenger and enplanements. The configuration of each Class B airspace are individually tailored and consist of a surface area and two or more layers. Some Class B airspace areas resemble upside-down wedding cakes and is designated to contain all published instrument procedures once an aircraft enters the airspace. So usually from the surface to 10,000 feet, but looking like an upside-down cake. What minimum pilot certification is required to operate an aircraft within Class B airspace? No person may take off or land a civil aircraft at an airport within a Class B airspace area or operate a civil aircraft within a Class B airspace area unless the pilot in command holds at least a private pilot certificate, the pilot in command holds a recreational pilot certificate and has met the requirements for 14 CFR 61.101, or for a student pilot seeking a recreational pilot certificate met the requirement for 14 CFR 61.94. C. The pilot in command holds a sport pilot certificate and has met the requirement for 14 CFR 61.325, or the requirement for the student pilot seeking a recreational pilot certificate is 14 CFR 61.94. The aircraft is operated by a student pilot who has met the requirements of 14 CFR 61.94 or 61.95 of this chapter as applicable. Certain Class B airspace areas do not allow pilot operations to be conducted to or from the primary airport unless the pilot in command holds at least a private pilot certificate. Example, Dallas-Fort Worth International. Number 8. What is the minimum equipment required for operations of an aircraft within Class B airspace? An operable two-way radio capable of communicating with ATC on appropriate frequencies for that area. A Mode C altitude encoding transponder. If IFR, an operable VOR or TACAN receiver, or an operable and suitable RNAV system. Number 9. Before operating an aircraft into Class B airspace, what basic requirements must be met? Arriving aircraft must obtain an ATC clearance from the ATC facility having jurisdiction for that area prior to operating an aircraft in that area. What minimum weather conditions are required when conducting VFR flight operations within Class B airspace? VFR flight operations must be conducted clear of clouds with at least 3 statute miles flight visibility. How is Class B airspace depicted on a navigational chart? Class B airspace is charted on a sectional chart, IFR, en route, low altitude, and terminal area charts. A solid shaded blue line depicts the lateral limits of Class B airspace. Numbers indicates the bases and the tops. For instance, 25 or 100, or surface to 100. 12. What basic ATC services are provided to all aircraft operating within Class B airspace? VFR pilots will be provided secrecy and separation from other aircraft while operating within Class B airspace. 13. It becomes apparent that wake turbulence may be encountered while ATC is providing secrecy and separation services in Class B airspace. Whose responsibility is it to avoid this turbulence? The pilot in command is responsible. The services provided by ATC do not relieve pilots of their responsibilities to see and avoid other traffic operating in basic VFR weather conditions, to adjust their operations and flight path as necessary to preclude serious wake turbulence encounters, to maintain appropriate terrain and obstruction clearance, or to remain in weather conditions equal to or better than the minimum required by 14 CFR 91.155. What is the maximum speed allowed when operating inside Class B airspace under 10,000 feet and within a Class D surface area? Unless otherwise authorized or required by ATC, no persons may operate an aircraft at or below 2,500 feet above the surface within 4 nautical miles of the primary port of a Class C or D airspace area and an indicated airspeed of more than 200 knots. This restriction does not apply to operations conducted within a Class B airspace area. Such operations shall comply with the below 10,000 feet MSL restriction. No person shall operate an aircraft below 10,000 feet MSL at an indicated airspeed of more than 250 knots. When operating beneath the lateral limits of Class B airspace or in a VFR corridor designated through Class B airspace, one maximum speed is authorized. No person may operate an aircraft in the airspace underlying a Class B airspace area designated for an airport or in a VFR corridor designated through such a Class B airspace area at an indicated airspeed of more than 200 knots, 230 miles per hour. What is Class C airspace? Number 16. We're going to hold off right there. Just held off on number 15. Pretty much Class B airspace. That was on 5-37C.